Hello social media navigators. Yes, those guys and you too navigating through the social media platforms. Welcome to Ingeniouses and welcome to another review video. Long time no see, long time not sitting in front of the camera. So if this is the first time visiting Ingeniouses, visiting the channel, welcome. If in fact this is your first time visiting the channel, double the welcome. And if you're not familiar with how I conduct these video game reviews, I just want to note that these reviews are solely based on my personal experience and personal playthroughs. They're not influenced by general reception sales or anything of the sorts, no critic scores or nothing like that. Some of the things I'm gonna share or some of my opinions may contradict what many others have already said in the past. But that's okay, I think, because everyone has a different experiences, especially with these type of games. What I like, someone else may dislike and vice versa. So keep that in mind. This is not going to be a full deep on review, just a review to share my thoughts after playing Tomb Raider Legend at 100% completion. After replaying it in full now in 2025. So does he still hold strong? I think so. So let's dive in. Overall presentation. As the first HD Tomb Raider game, Legend was a fantastic way to reintroduce the series, especially after Angel of Darkness left a sour taste in gamers' mouth. Just look at the introduction. It immediately sets the tone with a fast action cinematic flair, feeling like a mix of 007 and Mission Impossible, with dynamic camera work. Thankfully, Crystal Dynamics stepped in to keep the franchise alive. Speaking of presentation, I have to say that Japan was my favorite level, even though there wasn't a single tomb to be raided. And honestly, I didn't mind it at all. It's funny how some critics of the Survivor trilogy complain about the lack of tombs, when in reality, Tomb Raider has never been strictly about raiding tombs from start to finish. Sure, tombs are a major part of the series, it's in the name after all, duh, but past games have always featured plenty of urban environments, modern locations, and story-driven sequences outside of tombs. I wonder if those critics or so-called gamers or gamers wannabe have even played the older games thoroughly. I seriously doubt it. Because it seems like most of them are just basing their criticisms based on general gameplay footage they find online. Just like a lot of YouTubers out there, they share the exact same video game trailer or something that one company has already showcased in the past, and they stick with that without actually playing the game themselves.
I am not a thief. You would be wise to avoid such accusations.
Then I suggest we skip to the negotiations.
I don't have any idea what you are talking about.
Of course you do. Just name a price.
Ms. Croft, are you deaf?
I don't know. Let's see. Try begging for your life like you did the last time we spoke.
殺せ！今すぐやれ！
Que se armen los pinches chingadazos.
In addition to the Japan level, there's also Kazakhstan, which isn't set in a tomb either. Instead, most of it takes place outside in the snowy mountains and inside a laboratory, further emphasizing that the game's environments go beyond just tombs.
That's how you do it. It's not charged all the way. I don't know what's wrong.
How am I supposed to move it if I can't touch it?
The cable on your grapple is insulated.
Right.
Take Tomb Raider Chronicles for example. Its very first level takes place in the streets of Rome, not in a tomb or ancient ruin. And let's not even start with Angel of Darkness. Best we leave that alone.
No.
Then leave me alone. I'm busy.
You should be more polite to strangers. You never know who they are.
I don't give a dead curse who you are.
Janice said you were a real charmer.
So yeah, let's cut the Survivor trilogy some slack. Because if we're being fair, Legend proved that a Tomb Raider game can still be great without relying entirely on tombs or exotic landscape places. I'm aware that the Survivor trilogy has faced its fair share of criticism, especially its storylines. And while I don't entirely disagree with some of those points made, I guess I'll just save that discussion for another time because I'm talking about Legend today. There's a common statement and conception among the fan base that is divided between those who prefer exploration and those who enjoy action-focused gameplay. Personally, I lean more towards the action side, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy exploration games. In fact, I love the exploration aspects of Tomb Raider and I appreciate the balance it offers. It's just that as an action-leaning gamer, my fondness for Tomb Raider Survivor Trilogy is similar to my enjoyment of games like Uncharted and certain Assassin's Creed titles, which also have a strong focus on action. Some, not all. The battle mechanics in Tomb Raider Legend stand out as the best in the Legend Trilogy. For me, that is. I repeat, based on my personal playthrough. The controls are exceptionally smooth and surprisingly easy to master. However, it's a bit of a letdown that these control schemes didn't quite transition well into Anniversary or Underworld, both of which came out later. I talked about these in my Anniversary review, which you can check out if you haven't already. And it's also something I plan to dive into in my future to come Tomb Raider Underworld review. Combat in Legend is quite polished, especially with the bullet time and quick time events. Though, I know some players weren't too fond of that itself, personally I didn't mind them. In fact, I actually enjoyed those moments, mostly watching myself die over and over because I kept getting confused with the buttons and pressing the wrong ones. FYI, I played the Xbox 360 version, so that definitely added to the button confusion. There's also the inclusion of button combos that allow you for a variety of moves on enemies, such as sliding into them to send them airborne, leaping off their chest or heads, or using the grapple to pull them closer. These additions made the combat feel dynamic and engaging. But for me, the lock-on targeting never quite felt right. It just didn't work as smoothly as I would have liked. Maybe others had a better experience with it, but personally, I always found it a bit off. I'll get into that more in the cons. The writing and the story of Tomb Raider Legend were definitely solid. The narratives strike a great balance in between seriousness and Lara's signature quirky, sarcastic humor. Some players have noted that they didn't really like the side characters and the interactions with them. I'm talking about Zip and Alistair. Personally, I didn't mind them at all. I actually enjoy every interaction between Lara and these guys. I laughed at every smart-ass response Lara had for them, which kept things fun and grounded even when things got tense.
Look away from the screen then. So keen on visitors these days.
But hey, you're the one with the guns.
You can't blame me for knowing how to accessorize.
Don't ever do that again.
Not on that bike, I won't.
Please don't look down.
Heights don't bother me, Alistair.
They make me positively nauseous. Like I told her in Bolivia.
I'll try my best to keep my chin up, but I do need to concentrate, if you don't mind.
Hello, Laura. What the? How the hell did you get on this channel?
Hush, Zip. I'm gonna need a clear head for this, lads. No distractions, please.
Because trust me, I've interacted with and seen far more annoying NPCs, side characters, or sidekicks in other games. I really thought this added a personal touch to the characters while maintaining a good sense of action and dramatic tone across each level. It's also worth noting that Legend was the first game in the Tomb Raider series to have a fully fleshed out written story as opposed to the previous entries, which mostly relied on backstories or fragmented storytelling.
I am convinced. I am dangerous too, you remember. But please, enjoy the party while you can, and good luck.
This shift really helped give the series a more coherent and immersive feel, as Legends set the stage for future Tomb Raider games to build on that narrative structure.
Many demands on my time, you understand.
Of course, Takamoto-san.
Another thing I really appreciated about Tomb Raider Legend is the way the story delves into Lara's personal journey. We see a more human side of her than before, especially in relation to her past and her motivations. The game gives players insight into her quest to uncover the truth behind her mother's disappearance, which I won't spoil, but this adds layers of emotional depth to Lara's character.
And it was you! You killed her! Killed her? She's not dead! She went where I was supposed to go, where you could have gone!
Make sense right this second, or I swear I'll execute you where you stand!
I told you to pull out the sword. I told you!
Where is my mother?
Avalon! It's not a myth. Don't you get it? You'll never understand. I'm wasting my breath.
From this moment, your every breath is a gift from me.
But this adds layers of emotional depth to Lara's character. This wasn't just about exploring ancient tombs anymore. Lara's personal stake in the narrative made each level feel more significant. The writing creates an atmosphere where the stakes feel real and you genuinely care about Lara's success.
Call Professor Eddington at the Cavendish Laboratory. Arrange a meeting.
Will do. What should I tell him?
Tell him my father was right about everything. and there may still be time to do something about it.
The music score, while not necessarily the most iconic in the franchise, it's one I truly enjoy. At times, I found myself getting lost in the music, just allowing it to play on while I explored. From the energetic, upbeat track during Bolivia's first enemy encounter, to Peru's chase sequence, which features a fast-paced electronic beat fused with ethnic vocal melodies, to the mellow, elegant vibes of Japan's skylight building, to the atmospheric, immersive tunes of Nepal. Each level had its own unique vibe that matched the setting perfectly. I really appreciated how Tomb Raider Legend incorporated ethnic influences into the score, blending subtle vocal harmonies and a mix of instruments that added depth to the experience. Overall, it created a dynamic backdrop that complemented the action and exploration beautifully. The gameplay, which I'll break down in 3 subsections. The first one is the stealth. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness made an attempt to introduce stealth mechanics. Legend really polished and refined these elements, making them feel more integrated into the overall gaming experience. The game offered more fluid ways to approach situations, allowing players to choose between going in loud or opting for a more stealthy tactical approach. This added another layer of depth to the action and exploration elements of the game. Second, the chase sequences. While earlier Tomb Raider games like Tomb Raider 2 had vehicle sections like the snowmobile, Tomb Raider Legend took these mechanics to the next level by introducing full-on chase sequences. These high-speed action-packed moments provided some adrenaline-pumping sections of the game, with Lara racing against time to escape enemies in pursuit. While the inclusion of the chase sequences was a fresh addition to the series, they quickly became somewhat monotonous. Despite being a new concept, they were fairly straightforward, often reducing the excitement to simply dodging enemies and shooting along the way. So while it was a cool feature, it wasn't necessarily a mind-blowing innovation. It was a fresh gameplay element that gave Legend a bit of a distinction from its predecessors, injecting some urgency and excitement into the gameplay. While the chase sequences weren't revolutionary, they did offer a bit more than just speed. The real appeal came from dodging obstacles, shooting enemies, and using the environment strategically. For example, shooting explosive canisters to clear a path or take out enemies added a layer of strategy. So it wasn't just about staying ahead of the enemies, it was about handling the chaos coming at you from all directions, making the chase sequences more engaging than just a race. That said, the chase levels weren't particularly hard. The couple of times I died were from going too fast and crashing into walls, trees, or other parts of the environment, rather than from the enemies chasing me. In my defense though, the controls in these chase or vehicle sequences felt a bit slippery. Not necessarily bad, but just not as precise as I would have liked, which added to the difficulty in those moments. That said, these controls could have been seen as a bit of a con for some players, but for me, it was no big deal. And last, in my gameplay pro point, it's the grapple. Even though it could have been categorized in my gameplay mechanics, I thought the grapple was a solid gameplay mechanic introduced in Tomb Raider Legend. It added an interesting dynamic to the gameplay, providing new ways to interact with the environment. Not only did it make traversing and the game world more dynamic, but it also added a depth to puzzles and combat. Whether you were using it to swing across gaps, pull enemies towards you for takedowns, or solve environment-based puzzle challenges, the grapple significantly expanded how players approach each level. It was sort of a game changer for platforming in Tomb Raider games, that is. Offering more variety than just climbing and jumping, it became a mechanic that carried on to subsequent games, further cementing Legend's lasting impact on the series. So these were some key strengths of Tomb Raider Legend based on my gameplay experience, I repeat, and my enjoyment of the game. And while there are many other great things, great aspects about the game, I'll just keep it at that. With Legend nearing its 20th anniversary next year as of the time of this video, I also want to avoid repeating what has already been discussed by many other gamers over the years. So now let's dive into the cons. I thought Tomb Raider Legend is fairly short. Now, I'm not sure if this is a big issue for me, personally, considering the little time I usually have to game, or if it's just the fact that in recent years many of us have become more accustomed to adventure games that easily exceed an average completion time of 25 plus hours. But in defense of Tomb Raider Legend, it's worth remembering that it came out almost 20 years ago, as of the time of this video. Back then, it wasn't as common to see adventure games with 25 plus hours of gameplay. Sure, there were a few exceptions, but they weren't the norm. And not every game needed to be that long to offer a solid experience. Tomb Raider Legend is the shortest of all the mainline Tomb Raider games, for consoles of course, excluding the mobile games and handheld ports. According to How Long to Beat, it takes about 7 to 9 or 10 plus hours to complete, which is roughly about how long it took me as well. With only 8 levels including Croft Manor, but excluding the final showdown which takes place in the same location as the first level, Bolivia, I spend about a good hour or so per level, never exceeding 2 hours per level considering I tend to take my time while gaming. Tomb Raider Legend is not very hard, and although it could be seen as a good thing, I do expect games to give me some sort of challenge. Yes, I know Tomb Raider Legend has 3 different difficulty levels to choose from, easy, normal, and hard, but I personally thought the normal setting was still kind of easy to get through. I gotta admit though, I did die quite a few times, but it was rather because of what I've already discussed a few minutes ago in regard of the quick time events and pressing the right button at the right time, or the wrong button at the wrong time. The rest of the times I died more from trial and error circumstances, not so much because I was getting my ass handed to me. You could say that instead of complaining about the game being too easy, I could just play it on hard, of course, duh. But that said, I do want to repeat that it's not necessarily a bad thing the game is on the easier side, but I thought I would still bring it up for those who may be looking for more of a challenge in a Tomb Raider game. The enemy lock-on or targeting reticle. I felt like the enemy lock-on or targeting reticle didn't work as well as I expected. At first, I thought I was doing something wrong, I thought I could manually move it or that it would automatically target the closest enemy to Lara, but that wasn't the case. Instead, I often found that the lock-on would target enemies farther away rather than the closest threat. A good example of this issue was during the sea monster boss fight, Snake Hydra, I believe that's its name. The goal of that fight was to shoot at these sculptures to stun the creature and get it to move towards the large bell-like structures so you could drop a spike cage on it. However, instead of locking onto the sculpture I was trying to target, Lara would sometimes lock onto a different one farther away, making the fight more frustrating than it needed to be. After finishing the game, I did some research and found that I wasn't alone in this issue. Many players have pointed out that there's no way to control the lock-on properly, meaning you have little say in which enemy or environmental object Lara targets. This can make combat and certain puzzle sections feel clunky, especially when precision is needed.
That's how it always goes, isn't it? Swords in stones, Alistair. They're part of the monomyth. There wasn't just one Excalibur or one Merlin.
I really wanted to give, and I really struggled to give a well-balanced review of Tomb Raider Legend to discuss the pros and cons. Trust me, I struggled because I didn't want to come across as a fanboy, because Tomb Raider Legend is a fantastic game. But I couldn't find any more major flaws beyond what's already been discussed. And while this review is purely based on my own experience, once again I gotta repeat for the millionth time, I still gotta say once again that Tomb Raider Legend is a fantastic game. In fact, it is ranked among the top 5 Tomb Raider games of all time. I know that at the end it all comes down to preferences, like I mentioned earlier in the video, whether you lean more towards the action-based gameplay or more of the exploration, but I seriously enjoy Tomb Raider Legend a lot. And I'll leave it at that, so if you have a chance to pick it up, pick it up. And I'll close this video by saying, like everyone else says, because it supposedly helps the algorithm, that if you like the video, well, like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these content, blah 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 blah. I don't know if it makes a difference, but everyone says that, so there it is. Thank you for watching this video, thank you for sticking till the end if you did, and now we'll catch you on the next one. Remember to game on.